Hello, the topic of today's lecture is Basic Principles of Homeopathy, Scales of Homeopathic Delusions, Constitutional Types, Theory of Miasms, and Heron's Law of Healing. It is going to consist of two parts. The first part includes basic principles of homeopathy and homeopathic delusion scales. To cure a person from the point of view of homeopathy means to restore the internal balance in the body by stimulating its own vitality. So it means that we don't think about the disease like about something separately from the patient, but we think of a patient is a complicated system that is out of normal process of working, and we need to cure the whole system to get rid of the disease. So we don't think just about the disease, we think of the whole human body of the patient. Principle of similarity, that in Latin sounds like simile similibus curantur, means like cures like. And we try to find those raw material that can cause the same symptoms in their healthy body to get rid of the symptoms of a certain disease that we need to cure. To eliminate even the most difficult external manifestations, it is necessary, first of all, to bring his affective moral and mental functions back to normal and not just try to eliminate physical manifestations. So again, we think about the patient as a complicated system, not about just the disease. And of course, we take into account not only the physical, but the mental health of the person as well. The most important for a person are will is what determines his desires, ability to think, and body as an outer shell. So we need to figure out what is going on with our patient. Basically, we are the pharmaceutists, and we are going to learn how to prepare a good and effective drug. But when we talk about homeopathy and physicians, those doctors that really figure out what exactly raw materials and substances we should use for treatment of this or that person, then they always conduct a very grounded and a very long talk to the patient. So they talk with the patient to find out what happens to the patient, what's going on with him, why this disease happened to that person. And it accounts not only the reasons that are connected to the body, but it is also the reasons that are connected to the patient's health and mental health as well in general. So they figure out whether the person is in stress or this person has some problems or something else happens to that person. And the good physician, homeopathic physician, should take into account absolutely everything and choose their appropriate substances, the level of their potentiation or dynamization, and make this prescription, and then we can prepare this medicine, being in good health, thinking that we would like to cure that patient so that it works. And also there is a notification on the slide that these drugs, homeopathic drugs that you can find in drugstores, in the pharmacies, in a free cell, let us say this way, over the counter, or by the prescription, but of industrial production. They are tested. They are tested on healthy people. As well as all kinds of substances and raw materials that are used in homeopathy. When we don't know, how can we know how are they going to influence the human body? These drugs are tested on healthy people, and based on that, we get these prescription line of which substance, which raw material can treat which kind of symptom and which kind of disease. The symptoms that appear in a sick person should be similar to the painful manifestation caused by the homeopathic medicine in a healthy person for a suitable constitutional type. So this is the explanation why the approach in treatment of patients in homeopathical system is very individual. So when you open up the guides with a list of substances and plant raw materials, not only plant, but all kinds of raw materials, and there is the list of symptoms that they cause, all that symptoms were figured out by giving these substances and raw materials to healthy people. And based on that, we get these recommendations when to use it. Homeopathy is a system for treating diseases by means of such medicinal substances in a healthy human body produce a painful condition, highly similar to that which is to be cured. It's kind of we give this substance to the sick person, to our patient, and this substance causes elimination, not the boost, but elimination of all that symptoms. For example, Mercurius corrosivus produces artificial and cures natural dysentery. So in a healthy person, it's going to act like a not very good substance causing dysentery. But when we have a true dysentery and give this substance in certain level of potentiation and dynamization to our patient, it helps, it cures, it eliminates the disease. Arsenicum produces artificial and cures natural intestinal catarrh and cholera. Tartarus emerius phosphorum produce and heal pneumonia. Cantharis produces and heals kidney inflammation. The belladonna cures acute mania. The constant relationship that exists between disease and its remedy constitutes the law of treatment. Simile similibus curantur. Remember that in traditional allopathical medicine we talk about the opposite. In traditional medicine we say that we cure the disease by the opposite substance. Like if the person is in pain, we give this person a painkiller. If this person has some issues with high blood pressure, we give some substance that causes their decrease of blood pressure. But this is traditional medicine, and here in homeopathy we have simile similibus curantur, like cures like. Homeopathy and other complementary methods of treatment is based on a viralistic philosophy, in accordance with which all living organisms live according to laws that differ significantly from the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. According to the vitalistic theory, the body is a hierarchy of cells, tissues, and organs, systems that are completely interconnected in both upwards and downwards directions, and whose relationship with each other is under the control of the governing integrity, life force. It sounds very philosophical, but years and centuries of the use of homeopathy shows that it works. The system works very good and effective. Life force is a vibrating dynamic element with an inherited bioenergetic characteristic which is equated with the Chinese Qi or the Japanese Ki. Hippocrates suggested that it is nature inside the body that heals the patient. The first lecturer had mentioned that homeopathy easily integrates to the most of the folk medicines, especially traditional systems, are quite close to Ayurveda in India, quite close to Chinese traditional medicine, and it works good. So life force includes mental level, emotional level, and physical level. And the task of the doctor is to put all these three levels in balance and to figure out that person is good and feels okay in all these three levels. The life force is believed to work at three different levels listed in order of importance, then physical is the lowest one. After physical, we move to the middle level, emotional one. And at the higher level of importance is mental health. And when the homeopathian physician talks to his patient, he always tries his best to figure out all possible problems in all three levels. Because as for the body, it is the easiest way to cure it because we know exactly what to do. As for the emotional level, again, maybe the person is in stress and he needs some rest, or maybe there are some problems and he needs to solve it, and after that he will feel better. As for the mental level, it is very important to figure out all possible problems there because uh, we live in society and people around us influence us, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, but we need to learn how to keep ourselves in balance. Because when the person is in balance, this person feels okay, and people around him also feel okay when communicating to that person. So, like ideally, we all are in balance, and we can integrate easily and positively with each other. As for the interaction between different levels, classical homeopaths believe that the body functions are the reflections of the level. If the image of the holistic symptomatic picture is incomplete, then the action of the drug will be limited only to those vibration levels that were taken into account when selected. This method will only cause temporary healing, but it will not cure our patient up to the end. To find a drug that will optimally help the given patient, all of his symptoms must be considered. Also here on the screen you can see spiritual level. As for spiritual level, it depends, let us say, on the beliefs of the patient. You know that some patients they are not very good at spiritual level. Not all people believe in that, so it depends. So we talk about emotional level, mental level, and physical level, like all three basic ones. For spiritual level, it depends on the physician and on the patient and their interaction between each other. Through the concept of the integrity of the symptoms, it is possible to give a more precise definition of the law of similarity. Any remedy that can induce a certain consistency of symptoms in a healthy person is capable of curing that same consistency of symptoms in the patient. Now we move to potentiation and dynamization. These two processes, they are very important, and this is what you're going to learn to do during your practical classes, because this is a part of technology for homeopathic medicine. So we have potential, opportunity, ability, and dynamic force. Multiple dilutions of the substance chosen for the preparation of the drug, accompanied by vigorous and prolonged shakings of the vessels in which this dilution is made. So this is the definition. So we, let us say, easily shake. Shaking is not a very good explanation, but it is quite close. So shake multiple times, accompanied by vigorous and prolonged shaking in vessels, and the dilution is made. This is a good explanation for potentiation, and dynamization. Dynamization and potentiation. This is imparting energy, healing power to a natural substance in the process of a successive dilution and intensive shaking. What does it mean? So you know that we dilute homeopathic medicines a lot, and it is believed that the higher is the level of dilution, the more effective is the drug. For us not to lose the power, the healing power of the substance, we need to shake it to send the energy from our substance to their solvent around it. And through the process of dynamization or potentiation, this is what really happens. So we send their healing energy from our substance to the solvent. The next one, potency. Please don't confuse potentiation and potency. Potentiation is dynamization. That is why we'll better choose the term dynamization for us not to be confused. And potency, this is dilution. Potency, this is the degree of dilution or grinding of the original substance. Reflects the number of steps or levels in the process of imparting medical strength to a natural substance, that is, in the process of preparing of homeopathic medicine. Dynamization and potency, they are very closely connected. So basically, they help each other and help us to provide the high efficient and very effective medicine to the patient. The higher the degree of dilution, the greater the therapeutic effect of the resulting product. At the same time, under the greater strength of therapeutic effect is meant a deeper, more generalized, and a longer-lasting effect of a homeopathic drug on the human body. The United States Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia defines highly dynamic drugs as potent. That is why you may see that homeopathic medicines with very high rate of dynamization and potency are never over the counter, only by prescription. Now, let's have a closer look to different kinds of levels. So, mental level, the higher one. Changes occur in understanding and consciousness, confusing, decreased concentration, apathy, lethargy, distraction, like all of these symptoms shows us that something happens, something bad happens to the mental health of the patient and we need to help him. Emotional level. Changes take place in emotional states and unlike the mental level, such changes, they are very quick and fast. It can be loneliness, anxiety, apathy, envy, fear, irritability, joy, love, sadness, so all kinds of emotions. But it's easier, it's not easy, but it is easier to influence on emotions rather than on mental health. The last one, physical level. Diseases and injuries occur, changes occur in the organs and systems of the body. So we have sleep disturbance, some dysfunctions, issues with some organs and tissues. On physical level, it's easier to diagnose the changes and to take the treatment. Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy, began his homeopathic practice by giving patients large doses of medicines in accordance with allopathic traditions, because basically he began his journey being a doctor, being a traditional doctor. He got his education and he had his practice in Germany, and during his practice he made an observation that his patients often caused deterioration, in some cases reaching toxic reactions. In an effort to achieve greater safety, he experimented with diluting them, exposing each dilution to a series of energetic success. This is what he did. Like, he tried to find the other way of treatment patients, trying to avoid causing some, let us say, toxic effects on them. A disease caused by a change in the qualitative and quantitative ratios in the content of a certain trace element in a living organism is cured by microdoses of such trace elements, the introductions of which can restore the ratios typical for a healthy person. In 1880s, Dr. Arndt and Schultz of the University of Greifswald in Germany formulated Arndt's law to explain the potentiation phenomena based on the following observation. Mild irritants have a stimulating effect on the living organisms, for example, immunization. So this principle works both in homeopathy and allopathy. Moderate stimuli makes it difficult for living organisms to work, for example, intervention at the biochemical level. Strong stimulation have a depressing effect on the living organisms, for example, chemotherapy, and so forth. And allopathic interpretations are given in brackets. Were given in brackets like immunizations, interventions, chemotherapy, like this is our not the same examples, but good explanation according to something you have already learned. For us to know which exactly substances to use and how do they influence the body, we do the same thing we do in traditional medicine. We take healthy people, give them some drugs, some substances, some raw materials, and based on that, we can figure out how are they going to affect their patient's body. Healthy people of both sexes, different ages, temperaments with different external data were involved in treatments. It was found that the characteristic symptomatology of a drug disease does not occur in everyone, but only in those who had certain external and mental characteristics, a similar life history. Based on these, a description of a constitutional signs of people with hypersensitivity to the drugs was compiled. And this is also a very important thing that must be taken into account when calculating the doses in choosing the certain medicines for a certain person, because again, homeopathy is a very individual way of treatment. So, when there were lots of healthy people involved in testing of homeopathical drugs, substances, and raw material, it was figured out that we can divide our patients into constitutional types. Based on that constitutional types, we can help to choose the proper treatment. Because some people need a higher rate of potentiation, the other people require a lower rate. And these constitutional types help us to figure out what do we need to do. All medicines have their own medicinal picture, a description of symptoms noted in healthy volunteers who have experienced this medicine. This is called drug proving. So we have experimental tests that are carried out by prescribing various subtoxic doses to people of different sex and age. Basically, they cause changes in sensation or behavior. Like these are common symptoms. And clinically observed toxic effects. It can be acute, chronic, voluntary, or accidental. Large doses received usually cause organic damage. Pictures of medicines are collected in Materia Medica. The selected homeopathic Materia Medica is a fundamental work. One of the most famous Indonesian homeopathian, Dr. Iswardas Tarkas, who authored with his first disciple and associate Kulkarni. The authors present to the homeopathic community a new original approach to the description of drugs in the form of a matrix, which allows the most complete assessment of the totality of the presented systems. One of the main books by Kant, Materia Medica Lectures of Homeopathy, along with a repertory, is included in the Golden Fund of Homeopathic Literature. In case if you in future would like to expand your knowledge and to become not just a homeopathic pharmacist who only prepares medicine, but you would like to learn a lot more and become a homeopathic physician, you're going to need all this literature, of course. Now, we have already discussed the dynamization and potency. Now a few words about homeopathic dilutional scales. So, we have certain signs which you can find on the bottles or on the package, let us say package, with homeopathic medicines, with some letters or something like that. So let's figure out what does it mean. So the most frequently met, this is a decimal dilution that is signed by X or D letter. Decimal dilutions are developed and introduced into homeopathical practice by German physician Constantine Gary. 100, or in Latin sensorial, dilution is marked by the letter C or H because it was provided by Hahnemann, or CH together, depending on the country. So 100 dilution sensorial, C by sensorial, or H by Hahnemann, or together CH. Systemic dilutions were introduced by Samuel Hahnemann, and their technology was first presented in the 5th edition of the Organon of Medical Art. Also, in some countries, you may meet the Arabic numeral 1, 2, 3, but still you're going to have this CH, OCH, and then 1, 2, 3. 50,000. LM or Q. LM, this is abbreviation from Roman numbers, and we have Q. The 50,000 potency is also invention of Hahnemann. They are described in the 6th edition of Organon of Medicine. And there is another 100 dilution. So we have already talked about the 100 dilution by Hahnemann, CH. And also you may meet the letter K, Corsical. It's also 100 dilution, but the technology of its obtaining it differs from the traditional by Hahnemann because it was invented by Korsakov. Korsakov testimal dilution, very key, and he was neither a doctor nor a pharmacist, but was a follower of homeopathy and prepared homeopathic medicines for King Nicholas I. And his technology may also be found in the guides. For example, if you meet MM and you have MM, it can be 10 millions, 1 to 100, repeating 10,000 times. And to CM, 1 to 100, repeating 100,000 times with the help of Skinner dynamizer. So we're going to learn how to figure out all these different kinds of dilutions. So you need to understand that. Let's talk about decimal dilutions. So the decimal dilution, that is 1 to 10, 1 milliliter or gram of the substance plus 9 milliliters of solvent. This is concentration T minus 1, and this is dilution 1, D1 or X1. If you take 10 times more solvent, 1 to 100, then it will be 2x or D2. 1 to 1000, 3x or dilution 3. So the number of zeros equals to this minus 2 minus 4 minus 3 minus 4 and equals to the number of dilutions 3x or dilution 3. Systemal potency. Here you have 1 to 100, but this is 1 to 10, and out of which you prepare 1 to 100. Or you can prepare 1 to 100 at once, but it will be not decimal but sestimal potentials. 1 to 100, if it is sestimal, it is already 10 minus 2, and this is 1C or 1CH. And you have here their so here you start from 2 zeros at once, and each time you add 2, not 1, but 2 zeros more. Here you have plus 1 0, here you have plus 2 zeros at once. So the next steps will be 1 to 10,000. You had 2 zeros, now you have 4 zeros. And it will be 2C or 2CH. 2 more zeros more, 1 to 1 million, 3C or 3CH. So you can see there, of course, you will have this table during your practical classes so that you can understand how to make these dilutions. Okay. And now, potencies, drug potencies used in clinical homeopathy. So you have seen that decimal dilutions are quite low. When we compare it to sestimal dilutions, they are much higher. And Hahnemann, as a founder of homeopathy, tended to use those sestimal dilutions. And now let's talk about potency. So we have low potentiated homeopathical drugs. Of course, this is decimal potencies. You have seen that number of zeros and number of dilutions, they were quite low. Average homeopathic potencies is concerned to be 6C to 12C potencies. High potencies, this is 18C and higher. The last one are concerned to be not just strong effective, but even potent or poisonous drugs. So low dilutions effect on the level of tissue or organ and cause some symptomatic and local indications. Average dilutions up to 9CH can affect the organ system level, like local, regional, and regional indications. High dilution, this is at the level of the body as a whole. And when we talk about the treatment of the patient as a whole body, including all levels of physical, mental, and emotional, then it's closer to high dilutions. What are the features of taking of homeopathic medicines? So we have a pause when improving. If symptoms return, the dose should be repeated 3 to 5 times until the improvement stabilizes. If improvement is stable, stop the treatment. Repeat it if the same symptoms return later. If there is no improvement, try another drug. Acute diseases require frequent use of low potencies. Subacute, less frequent use of medium potencies. Chronic, rare receptions, or high potencies. If sensory disorders predominate in the clinical picture, high potencies should be used, and if functional and organic damage occurs, then medium and low potency respectively. If the disease does not have an obvious source of organic lesion of any important internal organ, then the reception can never be so small that immediately upon acceptance it was not able to produce seizures similar, even somewhat superior in strength to those that the patient felt in a natural disease. Okay. Here you can see the reference that are very advisable to be learned, and you're going to work with them during your practical classes. Thank you for your attention.